Hey guys, it's the Lord here, back again with another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Masterverse, Masters of the Universe, Revelation, Horde Skeletor. The Lord of Destruction himself, brought to us by the fine folks over at, say it with me now, Mattel. And a bit of a controversial figure here, some controversy going on with this release right here, because while it is an improvement to the first Revelation Skeletor we got, it's still far from perfect. I don't know why they can't seem to get Skeletor from this series right, but for whatever reason, we get close, but then so far away. It's like one step forward, two steps back, and this figure is a perfect example of that. We'll get into why just a moment here. So cutting right to the chase, getting into the meat and taters of this review, he does come with a couple extra hands here. He's got the pointer finger hand, which is a grip hand too. Then he also has a fist hand for the left side, and then he also has a fist for the right side, as well as a grip hand for the left side, which is the one I like because it doesn't have this pointy finger on it, so he can hold the staff a little better. But this is the first time we've gotten two fists with a Skeletor figure. Usually he's got that talk to the hand, or the biatch slapping hand. Or as I like to call it, the turn your head and cough hand. Oh yeah! But we also get a Havoc staff. And unlike the first Havoc staff, this one has a clear red skull on it. That's almost like a ball joint here. You could tilt it. I don't remember that being a thing before, but maybe this is modified or something? I don't know, that's kind of weird. Maybe I gotta heat that, pop it on all the way, but yeah, you can literally tilt it like this. And I've actually messed with a couple of these now, and they both kind of do this, so I don't know if that's just me not being able to pop this on all the way because I'm not the Hulk, or I guess I'm not He-Man. I guess that would be a better way to put it, but you know, it is kind of strange. You can tilt up and down, and it's just a straight peg joint there, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. But other than that, you do also get a soft goods cape here. It's the same type of soft goods as the Man-at-Arms we looked at the other day. It's kind of that felty material with the strap thingies that just kind of sit on the back there. But unlike that Man-at-Arms cape, he does actually have like a loop-de-loop on the cape that goes around the neck here so it doesn't fall off. That said, this cape is not the best, but I will say it's better than the first one's cape. And speaking of better than the first one, this figure, for the most part, better than the first one. For whatever reason, they did not paint the nails, though, so that kind of stinks. If the colors matched, you could maybe do some hand and feet swaps with that other one, but if not, well, then that kind of sucks. I've heard that the colors aren't 100%, but I don't know. I feel like you can make it work. They are just hands and feet. Other than that, he's got the same kind of shin armor. He's got the same legs, the same arms, the same torso sculpt. He's got that new torso joint in there, which does rotate at the top, and then it's got the ball in the midsection there, so you can tilt him forward and rotate him and do all that fun stuff. But I do dig the figure, but he does have some shortcomings, like the skirt here. It's not a shortcoming, but does wrap around him all the way, so that could hinder some movement. The armor is still that weird two-piece armor we got with the first Skeletor. They only modded it to have some tabs, so they could click into the straps here, or lock into the straps here. They glued it in, obviously, but it's still not a perfect fit, and still looks a little funky. Even though we got like the armor with Faker, that was all one piece, I'm surprised we didn't get that with this guy, because they have the mold, and it's not like he's supposed to store anything on his back or anything, not that you could with that original release. So I'm not quite sure why they went with this. Seems like a weird oversight that it's like, hey, you have armor that's one piece. He's got a new belt too, so that's nice. And the head sculpt, I think, is spot on to the cartoon. Maybe not the right color, but it's close. It's closer than that first one. If you had two of these, you could maybe do a head swap with that first one. But I don't think the hood matches the rest of that figure that well. And same with the cape here. It's a much darker color. But I do dig the figure for the most part. So as far as articulation goes, his head will rotate. It does have that disc that allows it to go up and down a little bit. Shoulders do go out to the side, back down, forward and back. It's got a bicep twist, double elbow that works okay, but the bottom elbows are tighter than snot on this figure. So, you know, be mindful of that. There you go. And then the wrist, swivel and hinge. Inappropriate hinge for holding stuff, but whatever. Already went over the torso articulation there. He does have the waist twist. Now, he does have the drop-down hips, which I'm not a fan of. These figures could always do the splits. I'm a little perplexed as to why they have them, but, you know, they drop down. They go back up. I will say this side on mine is very weird. It's not stuck, but it doesn't shift the best either. It gets, like, caught on the other side and causes this leg to move too. So, for those of you familiar with NECA Predators, it's something like that. But it is moving. It's not stuck. So, I guess that's a plus. But I'm not a fan of these drop-down hips. I'm hoping they're phasing them out because the Evil Lynn, the Megan Foster Evil Lynn figure from the 87 movie line doesn't have drop-down hips. So, I'm hoping that they're phasing them out after a couple of waves and like, you know what, that was stupid. We don't need to put those in there. They can do the splits just fine. So, I'm okay with them axing those. Maybe some butterfly joints would be nice, but drop-down hips are not really adding anything to this line, but frustration for me at least. That said, he can kick forward and back. He can kick out just fine without the drop-down. This is without the drop-down. This is with it. It's barely anything. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. He's got a thigh cut that works fine. The double jointed knee works fine. And he's got a calf cut with hinge at the ankle and a rocker joint. And peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So, there you go. Horde Skeletor in a nutshell. I dig him. I think he's cool. Is he one of the best Masterverse figures of the year? He had potential to be, but unfortunately the just the lack of, I don't know, self-awareness with the armor and still can't really get the colors right do knock some points off. Don't get me wrong, but I will say he is an improvement over the first one, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed the first one, so it's just that we've gotten so much better figures in the Masterverse line. Like we just looked at yesterday. He was really good. The Deluxe Man-at-Arms was really good. Trying to think, who else did we get from Revelation this past year that was pretty decent? Even last year, you know, we got the King Grayskull and the Hero and all those fine fellas. But, I don't know, it just seems like Skeletor is sold short because if they keep making Skeletors and slowly making them better as opposed to just making the better one, you know, people will keep buying them. Like me. So, with that being said, let's move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is good old Horde Skeletor, the Lord of Destruction himself, alongside another character who could sorely and desperately use an update, at least maybe that first episode classic version. We got good old Evil Lynn there before she goes all psycho bitch on us. And then we also have the first Revelation Skeletor we got in the Life of the Masterverse line. And as you can see, it's no question, the Horde Skeletor is a very well done and much needed improvement compared to this first one. I mean, the face ain't even yellow on that figure. What's going on there? The face at least has a bit of a yellow hue on the Horde Skeletor here, and while it does appear that the Horde Skeletor's skin is a little bit more of a purple hue, while the first Revelation Skeletor is a little bit more of a blue hue, I still think you could probably swap the hands and feet to get those painted nails and be pretty well off. That, or you could just paint the nails yourself, I guess, but the less a visually impaired person such as myself is around paint, the better, I'll say. So, moving these two out of the way here. This, of course, would not be one of my reviews without bringing in good old Brother Mandibolith from the Mythic Legions line. Having him next to Skeletor here makes me wish I had that freaking Keltis figure. But, oh well. You know, some of you guys out there kind of lame and want that figure to be worth a few $100 still. So, you know what? More power to you. Kick rocks. And then we also have the infamous MK11 Spawn, who, as usual, let's do the hand test here. Yep. Towers over everyone. Gotta double check now and then, because these Masterverse figures, they're a little bigger than you might think they are if you haven't bought too many of them or opened them up or whatnot. So, with that being said, it's time now to wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, and while I do still believe that this is an improvement to the first Revelation Skeletor we got early on, in fact the first wave even, in the Masterverse line, it's still far from perfect. I've said many times before in previous Masterverse reviews how I am not fond of drop-down hips. They're just not something that I feel is necessary for this line to improve. Maybe butterfly joints, but definitely not drop-down hips. If you're gonna put those in, then, you know, the figures probably can't do the splits otherwise. These guys did the splits just fine, so I'm still a little bit perplexed as to why the fine folks over at Mattel decided to implement them here. But on top of that, we also have the same armor as that first Skeletor figure, but with some, you know, glued on little pegs to keep it, you know, as one piece. Even though we have a one-piece Skeletor armor from the Deluxe Faker figure, they could have just painted in these colors or molded in these colors, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, kind of odd, and you know, the fact that it's not 100% accurate to the source material either doesn't help. But that aside, just some technical things that don't make a whole lot of sense are keeping me from liking this figure as much as I would like to. But I do still think it is an improvement over that first one, and if you didn't pick that one up or you want to replace it, I don't think this is a figure you should pass on. I think it's good enough for a purchase, if you ask me. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.